Hey, what's up guys, Will here for GSM Arena. The Huawei P40 Pro is already one of the most powerful camera phones you can buy these days. But if that's just not enough, there's another that may be just right for you, the Huawei P40 Pro Plus. It goes even further, literally with its 10 times optical zoom cam. Let's see what it's capable of in our dedicated camera review. As a smartphone, the P40 Pro Plus is basically the same as the P40 Pro. The specs have hardly changed. As you'd expect from a $1,000+ device, you get some of the most premium features you can buy. These include a curved, high refresh rate OLED screen, a flagship-grade Kirin 990 5G chipset, IP68 waterproofing, and fast charging. And yes, you are required to use Huawei's mobile services over Google's here. One difference you will find from the P40 Pro is that the back here is made of ceramic, not glass and aluminum. And you get faster 40-watt wireless charging with a proprietary charging pad. The main difference, however, is in the cameras. You get 5 here instead of 4, including an 8-megapixel periscope telephoto cam that can achieve 10 times optical zoom, and another 8-megapixel one with 3 times optical zoom. Besides the zoom lenses, the other cameras are the same, at least on paper. There's a 50-megapixel quad-Bayer main cam, a 40-megapixel ultra-wide cam with autofocus, and a TOF depth sensor. Overall, this setup gives you some incredible versatility when shooting, and you can zoom even farther now than you could with the P40 Pro without a loss in quality. There is something confusing going on here though. The main camera is 23mm, but it actually crops to act as a 27mm lens. So to provide a 10 times zoom, you should have a focal length of 270mm. The periscope lens is actually 240, so it gets there through cropping. Generally, whatever photos you take will involve some sort of cropping and upscaling to get the cameras to match up. You can see it happening right on the viewfinder too. The phone switches cameras in a different spot than the specified zoom modes. The main camera's actual focal length is really at around 0.85 times, and the periscope camera kicks in at around 8.5 times. However, it's all seamless and the upscaling doesn't have a big effect on the quality. Speaking of quality, let's get into it, starting with the main cam. Its photos come out in 12.5 megapixels and they are excellent. There's plenty of resolved detail, even in complex areas. No visible noise, lively colors, and stellar dynamic range. Plus, the sharpening is just right. There is a high-res mode that shoots in the full 50 megapixel resolution. These take just a second to capture and have a wider field of view than the regular photos because there's no cropping. They have better detail than expected too, but keep in mind that these take up much more space, and the uncropped corners are quite soft. Portraits are shot with the main camera and the TOF sensor. They have very balanced skin tones and good sharpness. The subject separation is very proficient too. These are some of the best portraits we've gotten out of a phone. Next, the ultra-wide camera. Its output isn't quite as wide as some competitors, but its 10 megapixel photos are class-leading. The dynamic range is impressive, the colors are accurate, there are no soft corners or warped buildings, and the resolve detail is extraordinary. The sharpening is a bit excessive, but these are still among the best ultra-wide photos we've seen. Since the ultra-wide has autofocus, it's possible to take some close-up shots with it. It's not really a macro cam, since the closest you can get is around 8 centimeters, but these are quite nice nonetheless. Now let's see what the 3 times telephoto cam can do. As we've said before, with Huawei camera phones nothing is ever what it seems and all cameras have their quirks, like insisting to save 12.5 megapixel photos out of the 8 megapixel sensor. Regardless, these photos are very good, with accurate colors, well-tuned sharpness, and nice dynamic range. And finally, we get to the real gem of this camera phone. The 10 times optical zoom provides excellent image quality. There's plenty of detail, accurate colors, and really good dynamic range. This level of clarity at this zoom level was unheard of until very recently. While you can see the effects of the cropping and upscaling, it's not so bad. But if you want to avoid this entirely, you can get the native field of view by zooming out to 8.5 times, resulting in a photo that's a little sharper. Now on to low-light photography. Shots taken with the main camera are simply stunning. They have a great level of detail, balanced exposure, good colors, very low noise, and perfect sharpness. If you turn on night mode, you get more detail revealed in the shadows, but there's no change in the already excellent highlights. As far as detail or noise go, we don't see any benefit here. We even had some photos come out softer, and each shot takes a few seconds to process. It's not really worth using night mode for the main cam unless it's pitch black outside. Shots from the ultra-wide cam are just great. They're sharp, detailed, and noise-free with nice colors. We really liked all of the samples we shot. Night mode is available here too, but there's an even stronger case against using it than with the main cam. You do get a brighter exposure, but these are cropped to a 4x3 frame and upscaled to 12.5 megapixels, resulting in a loss of quality. And each shot requires up to 8 seconds of holding the phone steady. 3x zoom shots we took at night turned out to be most often just a crop and upscale from the main camera. These are still good, but you get the loss in quality from upscaling. If the telephoto camera does kick in, you'll get a darker photo with similar or even less detail. Turning on night mode at 3x zoom results in either a loss of a lot of detail if it's one of the main camera's crops, or a well-lit yet very noisy photo from the telephoto cam. 10x zoom will almost always use the periscope camera in low light. These are quite usable photos. They're dark, but sharpness is decent and there is good detail. Turning on night mode here works wonders. It takes again about 8 seconds and a steady hand, but it brightens up the whole picture and improves detail by a lot. The P40 Pro Plus's selfie camera has a 32 megapixel sensor, and it has autofocus. There's also a secondary TOF sensor for portraits. Selfie quality is very good, with enough detail and excellent contrast. Colors are nice, and dynamic range is really wide. We think the TOF setup is actually helpful in selfie portrait mode. Subject separation is really great here. You can shoot selfie video in 4K resolution, and these are really nice. The clips are detailed, with good colors, contrast, and dynamic range. Continuing with video, you can shoot in up to 4K at 60 FPS with either the main or the telephoto camera, and up to 4K at 30 FPS with the zoom cams. Footage from the main camera is very good, with excellent contrast, mostly accurate colors, and wide dynamic range. Detail is really nice in 30 FPS mode, but we did notice a drop in sharpness at 60 FPS. 4K videos from the ultra-wide camera aren't as detailed, but the contrast and dynamic range are still great. 4K clips from either of the telephoto cameras are pretty nice, with good contrast and wide dynamic range. They are a bit soft though, perhaps due to the relatively low 8 megapixel native resolution of these sensors. Huawei's AIS video stabilization is available at all times, in all modes, on top of the OIS and EIS already available. It does a great job of smoothing out footage, though there is no option to turn the AIS off. Finally, let's have a look at video quality at night. Quality from the main camera is great, with even exposure, good sharpness, no visible noise, and well-preserved highlights. Nighttime clips from the ultra-wide camera are not so impressive, especially when you consider that it's marketed for its video capabilities. The output is still nice for an ultra-wide shooter though. So there you have it guys. Overall, the cameras of the P40 Pro Plus are awesome. A lot of phones have multiple cameras which aren't that great, and feel like they're there for the sake of a spec sheet. Not here though. Each of these feels like it's a worthy member of a great and versatile camera setup. For example, the portraits and the ultra-wide shots are maybe the best we've seen from a camera phone yet. And the 10x zoom is definitely worthwhile to have. It lets you take photos that wouldn't be possible on the regular P40 Pro. Our only real nitpick is that the camera focal lengths don't match the zoom levels, so everything involves some extra processing behind the scenes. But the user experience is seamless and the final result looks great, and that's what matters, right? If you're looking for one of the best camera phones you can buy, the Huawei P40 Pro Plus definitely deserves a recommendation. Thanks for watching guys, stay safe, and see you on the next one.